Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 97th day of the Russian aggression and ninth year of Russian war waged against Ukraine. I'm Andrii Zakrevskyi. On behalf of Mediacentrу Ukraine, I would like to welcome all the journalists covering our fight for freedom. Today we meet Andrii Zakrevskyi, chairman of the board of the Association Oil and Gas of Ukraine, and also the CEO of the New Folk Oil and Gas Consultancy Center. Good day. How would you evaluate the situation on the fuel market these days? As many people, I own a car, and we all share the difficulty of the situation. I'm very happy to see you, Andrii. I'm very happy to see that you are ahead of the gang. Let us discuss the situation on the fuel market and define it as a challenge. We had the ninth international conference and we addressed the situation on the fuel market, defining it as an issue, as a problem, and we sought solutions. And now, as I field your question, I will try to use my ideas as an expert, but also draw on the ideas presented by the governmental officials and the experts who attended the conference. Clearly, in the situation when the only major refinery processing Ukrainian oil was put out of the operation, Russians spent more missiles to destroy it than it must have cost. Now we are fully dependent on imported oil. And here we are dependent, and that poses a challenge as the supply chains by rail have also come under military attacks. Even in the peaceful Ternopil railway hub was attacked, and security is a major challenge for rail deliveries. Replacing it by uh, trucks driven on the roads would be very hard to do. And it's not just about some administrative hurdles. Clearly, the queues at the borders and add 3,000 oil trucks to the queues would exacerbate the situation, and this logistical leg is ramping up the cost of gas and petrol. We need to deliver fuel for the civilian cars, but also for the agricultural machinery and for the military hardware. Maxim Kozitsky, in his address, as he talked at the conference, clearly defined the situation, saying that we need to bring in the fuel by road, by rail, and also bring in pipelines from the ports of the Baltic Sea and bring them all the way to Ukraine. This is feasible and it is desirable, but war is raging in Ukraine, and it hasn't come across to the oil traders in the world. There's an environmental law prohibiting us from leading in the gas lines from the Baltic Sea. This will have to cross the highways, that will have to cross some voltage lines, and there are the technical challenges that we'll have to deal with. Let us focus on the deficit. Are some specific grades of fuel in short supply, or would you identify some products as being in shorter supply? And how short are we of those products? How much are we lacking? I can give you a precise number. It's been calculated a number of times. 75% of fuel were received from Belarus and Russia. And it's still Russia produced oil, and that's 75% of it. A quarter of petrol of all kinds, gas, diesel were received from this short logistic leg. If we talk in numbers, that millions tons a year, that's 4 to 5 million tons a year. Some MPs who have spoken out, like Harris, are hoping to see a decline due to the circumstances of the wartime, as some production facilities have come out of operation, disrupting their logistic supply chains. The consumption has fallen by 30–40%. We are now lacking about 5 million tons of petrol a year. If this logistic leg, as Kuyun Olovechkin was saying, if we're short of that much, that will mean we will not be able to bring it by road. One tank can drive and deliver within a week. And 2 weeks ago, it took 2 weeks to bring in the petrol for it to fill up, make the road to Ukraine, and then go all the way back. What is the dynamics like? Are you we've experienced this fuel crisis for 3–4 weeks already. Is the situation improving, or is it going to get worse before it gets any better? There are 2 points there. Firstly, we're in a context of a price shock, and it's helping us. We are not aware that we are buying up across Europe and even across the world. We are still not aware of that, and the prices differ. Uh, the prices differ between Poland, Baltics, or the UK, and traders haven't figured out how they can deliver 5 million tons per annum. So the price shock is helping us. But then the situation is going to degrade. It's the other way around. It's going to improve now, but it's going to get worse then. If we believe in our victory and we hope that the economy will recover, we can see no prerequisites for the situation improving in the short term perspective. To improve it drastically, we need to be doing what's been advised by Yuri Nahornyak and Maxim Kozetsky. We need to ramp up the mobile refineries in Lviv, Ivano-Frankivsk, and Zakarpattia regions. We need to make them capable of refining oil produced in Ukraine. So we need to be ramping up production of oil domestically, and the light fraction of petrols, the condensate in Ukraine. That's the first way out. Second solution would be smaller mobile outposts that wouldn't worth a rocket. That's worth $7 million. So that's a way out. As for what we can do to make it happen in the shorter perspective, we have also discussed that solution for us to start drilling a well, we need 2.5 years of paperwork. And that is the key obstacle to um, ramp up extraction of oil and gas condensate. We need to get rid of the red tape. We need to reconsider our attitude to those consuming poor quality petrol, but instead encourage them to buy oil processing facilities. If we can bring in oil to these small refineries, why don't we start bringing in the fuel as such? Then, after the war, if we believe that we can win, we will be fully import dependent. And this is a story of the Bonaparte, who said that soldiers have to walk in the shadow along the roads. So trees have to be planted, but they will have take 20 years to grow. So we need to start planting now. Same ways, we need to start uh, reconsidering the issue of regulation and creating preconditions for the small market operators, and we need to be building pipelines to bring in oil from the Baltic ports. One team can drill or put in 5 kilometers of pipelines. We have 20 such crews, and that's 100 kilometers we can build in a day. Uh, we may have questions in the audience, and this is the time to post them. Greetings. I'm representing Lambert News Inform. Tell us, why did Poland refuse to supply free petrol to Ukraine? Well, how is it going to affect us? The effect is going to be positive, in my opinion. All things that come to us for free are not appreciated, and they don't benefit us in any way. They only degrade domestic protections, and the Poles are determined to build a long-term relationship with us, as we are keen to. We have to develop business and logistical ties and not to pose hurdles instead. This is a hurdle or a quick fix. It's like water after a fish or a fishing rod. I am determined, and I am certain that we shall win. We discussed the question of land lease on the conference. So, do we want oil to be delivered to us, or do we want the rigs to be delivered to us so that we can drill our own wells? I have a question to you. How will the consumers change in the future? Can we expect some changes in the habits of the people driving cars? Can people start looking at the electric vehicles, and can there be a shift towards public transportation? So you talked about the industry, but now can you focus on the consumer behavior? Andrii, I couldn't thank you more for this question. Indeed, everything's happening globally these days is part of the green transition, and humanity deserves a stopping point to stop and think, where are we heading? And the green technologies, the synthesis of methanol and methane, as Elon Musk is advocating, it's not good to use hydrogen. We should make it methane and use it as a petrol station on Mars. We'd rather start using synthesized green hydrogen on Mars than on Earth, because we can make methanol and fuel. Nitrogen can also be used to fuel vessels, and this is being done. So now this is the time to stop and think how we develop alternative sources of energy, and this is the way it should be. This was Andrii Zakrevskyi, chairman of the board of the Association of Oil and Gas of Ukraine, and the new folk oil and gas consultancy center CEO. The next briefing is coming up at 12:30. This is a special event. Maxim Kozetsky, Lviv military governor, will recap the first months of war, and we are looking forward to the presentation of Alexei Antipovich, director of the sociological group Rating, who will present the outcomes of a massive survey of Lviv in the context of war, the outlook of the residents and IDPs.